So I've been working at this equipment rental company almost 2 years. I think it's 2 years. Driving now Ford F-350. Doing an exchange. A guy rented 3 heaters, you know, the ones that use propane, and he complained that 2 of them failed to ignite, so only one was working. But then the other one started working, and so one is still dead. And so I'm doing a service call. They tested a heater, it works, and so I'm bringing the working heater to the guy, and I'm taking back the defective one. But sometimes people they don't use them properly, you know. But anyway, funny thing happened is that, so it's been 2 years, and I still cannot figure out how my pay works, you know, just to compare with like other jobs, because of course there's regular hours, right, and then there's overtime hours, and most places overtime starts after 44 a week. So let's say if I worked only 40 hours, then only regular pay applies, right? But let's say if I worked 46 hours, then I get a regular pay for 44, and then time and a half for the 2 hours over, right? That was my understanding. But it didn't work. Basically, so I went to my dispatcher, because I said on the clock app on the computer where we clock in, clock out, I said, can I see my hours for a month? Like, I just want to, because, you know, I want to go when I'm back home, I can go to my computer and I can look at the deposits, like the 2 deposits I had in February, and then I can, you know, figure out my effective pay. But the dispatcher says, no, you cannot see your hours on that clock app. You have to go talk to the boss or the accountant. And so I went and talked to the boss. He was typing something on the computer. I said, excuse me, just 1 second, let me finish this thought. And he says, yes, sir. I said, could you tell me how many hours I worked in February? And he was kind of like surprised. And he says, well, is something wrong? I said, I'm trying to figure out why I'm making so much money. And I said, well, no, he said, okay, so your complaint is not that you're not making enough, but you're making too much. I said, well, the pay went down, of course, in winter. I said, I lost like $1,000 a month, but it's still more than my hourly rate. So I'm trying to figure out, how does it work? So if you tell me my hours for February, then I can go, even though like it was a short month and then I didn't work any Saturdays, but like I said, I can go to my home computer and look at the 2 deposits that were made, right? And then I can figure out, that's what I explained to the manager. I said, then I want to figure out the effective hourly rate, because there's all kinds of bonuses, there's vacation pay, you know, performance bonus, all this kind of stuff. And he gave me the hours, so now I know my hours. And I said, and so, quick question, I said, so overtime starts after 44 a week? And he was kind of surprised. He says, no, because you're a driver. He says, for drivers it's different. I said, really? How is it different? So it turns out it's not a weekly number, it's a daily number. And that's why I was making more than my hourly rate. So it turns out after you reach a certain amount of hours a day, the rest is overtime. You know? Which is super good news. So like I started this little clip saying that I work here 2 years. And only now I figured out what's going on. So the hourly rate is not everything, you know, it's how they apply it. how they calculate the overtime, and so now it gives me a much better understanding, and I can do a more fair comparison with other jobs, you know, because like I was doing Uber, and one of my passengers was a guy going to a transit depot, you know, public transit. I said, "Are you a bus driver?" He says, "Yeah." And so I was asking about how their shifts work, because I remember they were struggling with these broken shifts, you know, where you work 3 hours, then you have to be off for 2 hours, then there's another 2 hours. It was like all over the place. And he says, "No, that used to be before. Now," he says, "I just finished my 8 hours and I'm taking Uber to go back to grab my car." And so he says, another driver took my bus, so they don't have to bring the bus back to the depot where he started the shift, but he jumps out, another guy jumps in right in the middle of the city, you know, wherever he happens to be when his shift ends. And so I know these guys make good money, so let's say $30 an hour, but he only works 8 hours a day, right? So there's no overtime pay, you know. If he works 5 days, let's say 40 hours, it's even 30 hours, like an hour sounds good, but it's worse than what I make, you know. And that was very important to find out how my pay works, you know, because otherwise I can make a mistake, quit this job and go get another one, and I would actually lose money. So it's a lot to think about. So alright, so now I'm taking an exit, 64 Avenue, where the Walmart is. I'm gonna go find the guy and exchange this heater. I'm passing a Caterpillar dealer near the Walmart. Funny story with the heater exchange. It's one of those buildings that it sits on the corner, and so the front, it's a commercial building. The front of the building is on the street, let's say 11th Street, but then there's an avenue, right? And so the back of the building has the avenue address, which was very confusing. And so the GPS sent me on the avenue, because I thought the entrance was from the back, because the guy never said anything on the phone. And then I see that I have to go back to 11th Street, and then I see there's a bunch of people dressed up in, you know, I'm not an expert, but kind of like Muslim clothes, you know, like those white robes, and they're all black. And so I pull up to the front, there's like 3 young guys stand there, and they all have these white robes, and basically they dressed very kind of like in a holiday, you know, like how you dress up for a big holiday. And he helps me to carry the heater inside. And as soon as we open the door, I hear there's a priest talking. There's a guy standing in front of the room, and he's talking into a microphone, but in English. And there's like 1 million of people are sitting on the floor, so it's all like open space. So they just put carpets, you know, and so everybody's sitting, and they're all barefooted, because all the shoes are to the side. But we walked in, we are in shoes, of course, you know, like this guy didn't say anything. And so the preacher is talking, and these people are milling around. There's some food on the side, so it looks like some kind of a religious a religious gathering, but all women are dressed up, really nice. Lots of young women, beautiful. And I was the only white guy in the room. I felt kind of like weird because the old heater was still connected to the propane tank, and the guy says, "Hold on, let me." And it was in the middle of the room where everybody was sitting. And he says, "Hold on, I'll go grab pliers to unscrew the hose from the propane tank." And as he went to grab the pliers, and I was just looking around, people sitting on the floor, So it's a church, but it's in a commercial building, Weird. And he never said anything on the phone. And today's what, Friday, right? Friday. Actually, a couple of times when I was doing Uber, 5 in the morning, I brought people to a church, like a similar Muslim or, I don't know, black, some kind of, I don't know what the religion is, but they were like early morning. I guess it was probably going for baptism or something, because this woman that hired me as Uber, she had 2 kids, 5 in the morning, and so the poor kids were like, sleeping by the time we reached the church, and they all dressed up really nice, and they all wear these white robes. So they're probably Muslim, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not religious. I'm not racist. I'm tolerant. I don't care. But I would just love to know what kind of church that is and what they're celebrating. If somebody knows, put it down in the comments. Two of our trucks, new truck showed up, F-350. No paint on them yet, they're all white or silver. So plain looking trucks because they have regular wheels, smaller wheels than on this, and regular tires. But same idea, 4 doors, full cab, and 8-foot bed. So now they're gonna transfer. They're taking the cage, in the back where we tie down stuff. They're gonna take that because that's expensive, right? So they're gonna take it from these trucks. But I think the tailgate stays. The electric tailgate stays on these trucks because they're getting new ones for those ones. And so now they'll have to be equipped with that bed so that we can carry, scaffolding and tie down stuff, and electric tailgate, and then of course they have to put lettering and decals, all that good stuff. So now we'll be fighting for those 2 Fords, because until now the best truck was our Ram 3500, because it's a newer one and it has cruise control. Everything works, right? These Fords are much older and they don't have any cruise control. So they did say April, but now it's end of March. So I think, by the time they finish putting decals on and the cage and the tailgate, it's probably gonna be April. By the way, my truck, the Freightliner, it's gonna take them a week, so I'll be probably pulling that trailer again whenever they need me to deliver or pick up machinery or like equipment. like a scissor lift, skid steer, stuff like that. So now it's after lunch. I'm still in the Ford F-350, driving all the way down, like to the very bottom of Calgary, just to pick up 2 frames, 2 braces, 3 decks, and 4 casters. Like a very light load of scaffolding. So yeah, the trucks are here. That's good. Oh, and the big surprise was is that they don't have DEF. And I said, why not? Oh, we went back to gas. So these trucks have gas engines. I'm guessing V8 probably, or maybe V6 even. Because yeah, diesel fuel is so much more expensive than gas over here. So now it's almost $2 per liter, whereas gas is $1.50. I filled up this morning, put some gas in my Jeep so I can do Uber after work, because today's Friday. Should be busy at night. Check this out. Just picked up some scaffolding over here. Very light load, so 2 frames, 2 braces, 3 decks, 4 casters or wheels. And look at this. This is the house where I picked up. And that's it. There's no more. No more houses. This is like I mentioned, I'm at the very bottom of Calgary. Like you see this open land. You don't see this very often. Like actually beautiful hill over here. Look at this. My friend John from UK, this is for you. You kept saying we don't have trees. Look at this. It's a forest. More over there. Yeah, look. Lots of trees. But then of course there's a 10 square mile open field. But over there you already have houses. See, like in the distance. But here, so it's brand new community. All the streets here, the first word is Creekside. Creekside, and then there's Creekside View, Creekside Lane, Creekside Drive, Creekside Road, Creekside Boulevard, That's what it is. I'm taking a shortcut on a dirt road.
In 300 meters.
All right, back to the pavement. Always come to a complete stop when filming is a major rule.
Continue for 3 kilometers.
Trucking. Many people actually lost their jobs, when YouTube became popular, and many truckers started filming, and they were filming their, mistakes when they were rolling through stop signs, not signaling, driving too fast, and then they posted these on YouTube, and of course anybody can watch it, including your employer, and people lost their jobs. Now check out this view. That's downtown, probably 50 kilometers away. And I'm in my Jeep. They let me go home at 2:45. Like, hours are getting worse and worse. And today's Friday, and so I told the bus, I said, okay, I'll go do my second job. And so now I'm in the Jeep, sitting in the waiting lot of the airport. It's not too busy, it's a short wait. So I'm already in the lineup, and I'm trying to figure out what these guys are doing over there. There's a 800 K-Whopper. Hold on. Yeah, so there's a T800 K-Whopper with RGN Oh, I got it. So they're just loading all these concrete blocks on him. So an RGN is hauling concrete blocks, which normally would go on a flatbed or step deck. You know what that means? That means that there's no work. That they're just sending this poor guy with an RGN, and instead of heavy haul, he's doing some flatbed work. Yeah, at first I thought he was loading that machine. But no, you see there's a bunch of blocks over there. And I'm guessing, yeah, that's what they're doing. And tomorrow's Saturday. I asked my dispatcher if they want me tomorrow. They said no. There's 2 deliveries. And they already have a driver. Because that guy, he takes a day off on Monday. Right, so he works only 5 days, but basically Tuesday to Saturday. And since I'm working Monday, so the way they split it is I don't have to come in tomorrow. So I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna check Uber, see what kind of what time the high demand starts in the morning, maybe like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And by the way, somebody was saying that about this. The reason I wear a hat like this when I'm doing a video is because there's a company logo on the front. And so I'm turning it this way so that you guys don't see the company name. All right. But one of our managers started calling me Captain Sergey. Yeah, sorry, Lyft offered me something. So $15, go 3 kilometers empty, pick up a guy at a hotel. Yeah, it's over there somewhere, but it's far. Because it's close if you fly, you know, like a crow flies, it's close, but you have to go around. So it's like 3 kilometers and then 22 kilometers downtown, so 25 kilometers total. And they're offering $15. I'm sitting in a waiting line at the airport. Like from here, I can get much better deal. I hope it goes somewhere far. But actually a couple of times happened. I was sitting here for 2 hours in the lineup, and they gave me a guy who was going 5 kilometers to my home area. So I made like $7 in 2 hours. So, but then once I picked up a couple coming back from a vacation, and they were going 50 kilometers, 50, you know, pretty much what, like 30 miles, you know, all the way to the bottom of Calgary where I was today with Scaffolding. And I think it paid like $45 or something, you know, and took me half an hour. So I made $45 in half an hour. So it's like all over the place, you know, the earnings with Uber, you know, one day you're rich. I'm talking about the rates, you know, you can make $100 an hour in theory, but then other days I make $15 in 2 hours, you know, or $7 in 2 hours. It's just ridiculous. So basically you cannot survive. That I keep telling everybody this, and people agree that this is only good as part-time, as a supplemental income, you know, just put food on the table, stuff like that. And Uber just offered me a ride, but because now it's all upfront offers, right? They show you all the information. It's a $6.50. Pick up somebody from the airport and take them, looks like, to a hotel like 3 kilometers away, and at $6. Said dismiss. And right away they kicked me to the bottom of the list. Again, I see 6 to 10 drivers ahead of me, but then now a few minutes later it says 1 to 5 drivers ahead of me. So basically I'm next, but I think I'll have to take it, whatever they give me next. I'll take it, otherwise you know, they'll keep bumping me down. And my area, like east where I live, is much better anyway. Like I go there, I can always get a ride. I can just sit at home, you know, play with my computer and wait for my phone to buzz and go pick up somebody. Like this area here, it's all industrial, it's all warehouses, companies, near the airport, hotels. But most hotels now, they have buses, they have shuttles, right? And it's funny how it's very rare that I pick up somebody at a hotel or bring them to a hotel, because from the airport they can wait and they can take a shuttle to the hotel. Of course, it takes much longer because that shuttle makes lots of stops. It does not go just to one hotel, it goes to like a bunch of hotels on the way. And so if your hotel is like 2 kilometers away, it might take 40 minutes, for the shuttle, but it's free. And that's what I found out, that Uber and taxis are not very popular with people staying at hotels. So I got a guy from the airport, right? It was not bad. It was like $14 for 15 or 16 kilometers going straight west. And as we're approaching his home, when we are like 5 minutes away, I hear him, cursing, and like he's almost like moaning, like from pain, And I thought he hurt himself or something. And then we stop, and he's at his place, and he says he dropped AirPod, or earpod, one of those wireless mics. I mean, like a headset, right? So he dropped one of them. You would not believe where. Hold on. So this is the seat, right? So the guy was sitting here. He dropped the AirPod between these two red receptacles in there. And there's a hole in there. And I've been doing Uber for almost 2 years. And I told the guy, I said, you're the first. Nobody ever dropped anything there. And so that's what the guy was moaning. He was trying, but it's super tight in there. So I was afraid he would break something there. And I said, hold on, let me fold down the back. And I fold down the back, and I realized that it's not like in my Durango where you can lift the entire seat. The whole seat, once you fold the back, then you can pull another lever, another strap, and the whole seat goes forward, So this way in the Durango, by the way, if you need lots of room, you can fold the second row and of course the third row. So it can be like a mini truck, like super useful. But on this one, I never had this issue where people dropped something in there. And he tried to lift the seats. I said, sir, no, they don't lift. Like, he was upset, but I'm sorry, I have another passenger, because they already gave me another one. And I left, and that lady starts texting me, are you stopped? Like, it shows your car is not moving. And I see that the pickup, only now I didn't pay attention when I accepted the ride as we were driving to this guy's house. Now I see that the pickup location is 5.6 kilometers away. And I'm like, no freaking way. So I stopped, clicked on the passenger little picture there, and a menu pops up. What you can do, like basically to cancel the ride, it says accepted a ride by accident. So I click on that one, cancel, boom. I canceled. So they don't punish you in any way, just that your percentage goes down. I think I saw on the app that my acceptance rate is 60% and my cancellation rate is like 5% or something. So I only cancel like really, basically next time I really should pay attention. I don't want to take anything that's more than 5 minutes away, because it's just stupid. It's a waste of time. And as soon as I canceled that one, 2 minutes later they gave me a ride, which was actually pretty good, like $18. And now I'm in the same area where I was the other day, Safeway, where I was watching those planes passing here. And so she came here to a tax place, like she's came to do her taxes. And it's shows busy, so I should so now I'm sitting at $35, but since they let me go so early, I really need to make some money. then I can go home and drink vodka, you know, with some spicy pierogies or dumplings. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm gonna go to my Freshco, friendly Indian supermarket, and get me some vareniki, like pierogies, or dumplings with meat. We'll see. Well, quick update on the Uber situation. Today is Sunday. I did Uber yesterday, was not very busy. Today it's like on and off, but I'm using Durango. I already had to fill up twice. This car. But I got 2 XL rides. You know, I got very nice rides. So one was from downtown, picked up 3 people and took them to the Olympic Village. They were going curling, and it was 12 kilometers. And because they ordered XL, the ride paid $23 to me, and I'm guessing they were Americans, so they gave me $7.65 in tips. I'm guessing it was like $5 US probably. And so I got $30 for 12 kilometers, you know. And then just now I'm sitting at Cross-Eyed Mills, my 3rd time here. Previously I brought somebody here, then brought somebody right away, got somebody back, but then I ended up here again, and there was nothing. I was sitting for 20 minutes, so I started driving back home and got a XL offer, and I didn't have time to see like where they were going, you know, because that slider moves pretty fast. And so I clicked accept, and it was Skyview Ranch, basically my area. And the destination is Cross-Eyed Mills. Son of a gun. I said, guys, I just came from there. And the guy says, nice. And there were 6 people, and so I had to help them. So there was 2 in the back, and then 2 here, no, 3 here, and 1 next to me. 6, like full capacity, you know. And this was 7 kilometers, and it paid me $14. So basically $2 per kilometer, you know. That's the power of XL. And so I love doing Uber and this Durango because of that. So even though it's not as good on gas as the Jeep, but you know, people give you compliments about the car, and you get more tips in my experience, and you can get double the rates, you know, if you're lucky to get XL. And it's not always people order XL when they have too much luggage, or there's a group of people like I just dropped off now. You see, like those Americans, they wanted a big comfortable car, and there was only 3 of them. And the guys who gave me a big tip. And so some people like, you know, big comfortable cars. They don't want to rough it in a Toyota, you know, Honda Civic, where they would have to sit on top of each other. So anyway, it's already 8 to 2. I had a lunch break, but I started at 6. I'll wait here a bit more, and if there's nothing, I'll just go home. I know the evenings would be better. Probably after 5 or 6 it would pick up, but I'm working tomorrow, you know, and I've been driving since early morning today. So I'm gonna go and get some rest before the full work day tomorrow at my equipment rental place. And this is what Cross-Iron Mills parking lot looks like on a Sunday. It's crazy busy. People are circling around looking for parking space, and it's very hard to get out of here. And this is just one side. There's parking lots all around this because it's like a big circle. And normally I'm sitting here because the food court is over there, and that's where lots of times people come out to grab an Uber. It's like one of the exits over there on the left, and there's another one over here. That building, there's another door where people might be waiting for Uber. So I hope I don't sit here too long.